Hi everybody, this is Brad Dyke saying hi. Hope you guys are having fun, and I'm doing another video as part of the pre-stint work for upgrading the data center from what it used to be into something that it will be valuable going forward. So the big problem that I have right now is pertaining to the fact that when you're looking at reorganizing or rebuilding your data center, opposed to just simply a server rack, right? In other words, you're rebuilding more than just one rack. You really have to make the decision what needs to stay, what needs to go. So with that being said, you have to take into consideration, yeah, unfortunately, age. Now I'm a big recycler, right? I pull the hardware out of God knows where and I reinvent it into something new, and that's important because we, many of us, don't have a lot of money, and so by getting old, retired equipment, we can do some new things with it. So with that being said, I have to look at what I got and decide what's got to go. So with that being said, let me show you that process. What has to go is driven on the principle and nature of what you've got. As you can see here, there's a lot of gear that's pre-existing, and there's some age here, right? And down over here, you've got age over here in regards to some of these older chassis that are test chassis, and they basically are able to accomplish things. But I've got some pretty old stuff here, because if you look here, I've got I built this. This is kind of like one of my pride and joys. This was never existed before. It was a different design altogether, but I built this one out. And this is an Isilon, an old Isilon that I gutted and rebuilt and turned it into a first bed test bed free NAS platform, as well as my multimedia NAS testing platforms. But it's a P5000. It's old, and it's time to retire it. It's filled full of 500 gig drives. I'm going to donate it to a local school system here so that they can use it to train kids while it's still usable to do so. So it has a future, just not with me. So I'm looking at retiring this unit, this unit. I'm going to probably, I know this is terrible to say, but I'm also going to retire the old Isilon bad boy down here because he is basically antiquated and basically very old, to be honest with you. And I'm going to keep the 810, and that's a fiber channel chassis here. It's going to go away too, but we'll keep this. We're going to donate this, and this is a big one because whoever gets this as a donation, that's a horse because it's 58 drives capacity for it to be a NAS. Very nice. Now, along with this, the Google and the NetApp arrays will stay. The 3PARs will stay. These tier platforms will stay as well because they're good test beds and good VN engines. And then up here, the Pis themselves will stay because that's a cluster environment for rapid clustering testing. Now here you have basically two Dell Optiplex chassis that are pretty old, but they do rapid Ubuntu testing whenever I need to do that, and that's okay. Here I have my KVM network. Here I have my 10 gig network. Here I have my, if you look underneath here, you have the big 48 port switch, and then a series 710, no, sorry, this is a 610, I believe. And then, of course, these are disk storage arrays here. They're filled full of USB eSATA disks for rapid transition. This guy probably will get retired. It's an old chassis, but it does house a lot of disks, so whoever gets it, they'll be happy. But I'm going to basically scrap it. I've got myself a Super Micro station here, which is in good shape. The Google will stay because that's a 710 chassis along with its disk array. The new SSD array will be put into use, but these two 1750s are antiquated, outdated, and they're going away. They're old. They're really old. But as you can see down there, that's a 910, and that 910 is a quad, and it's going to be used for database and VM work. Now in the back area, there's actually going to be some reorganization as well, and some retiring of gear in the back as well. But as you can see, it's pretty busy. This is a very busy lab environment, and it's quite borderline intrusive, actually, in its design and implementation. So I'm going to downscale this to a certain point. Now, the things that I'm not going to retire is going to be the HVAC unit here. it's going to stay in place. It's working great. And my goal is as I am retiring old gear like that old NAS down there on the table and so on, my heat level demands aren't going to be as nearly as bad. But I have some real heat producers. Of course, my old Isilon True NAS platform down there, he is a beast. He heats up this room pretty quick. That 910, I suspect, will also heat up the room pretty powerfully, but I try to balance everything else out so that I'll have the applications I need up and running, run it for a while, have the HVAC on, and get this all streamlined. So when we're done with this, what's going to end up happening, actually, believe it or not, is you're going to only see about 2/3 of what you see now back in the rack enclosure. And the reason why is because I'm both distributing on two principles. One, heat distribution, and two, power distribution. There are two 220s on this one, 220s on that one. There's 80 amps here. Plus this guy's got his own dedicated power. Balancing it out means I'll never experience any heavy temperature loads or anything like that on that gear. And retired gear is usually hotter gear. In other words, it's going to get and pull more current because it's just older equipment and it hasn't gotten some of the more advanced processes and cleanups that you've seen with some of the newer gear. So with that being said, that's going to pretty much conclude what we're doing here. I am retiring some chassis, but I'm also bringing some new chassis in to replace, like for instance, the 1750s, which are EMT64 baseline processors, which are no longer supported by any operating system. I'm going to put in the 610s in its place, but those 610s actually belong to my son and his IT role with his environment. So they may come and they may go as they come into the equation. For the most part, though, I am going to be reducing the number of servers and hardware support, such as NAS devices, direct attached devices, and so on, as I go forward, because I can do it sharper, leaner, cleaner, with the duality of both hardware and virtualization. So with that being said, please keep enjoying everything that you're seeing here. I have a great time going through the videos. If you have any questions, just send me a message. Hopefully you'll like the video and you'll click like, and keep having fun. God bless and goodbye.